Today in this video, we'll be discussing some of the key political ideologies and concepts that have shaped the world in the past century. We'll be looking at imperialism, militarism, fascism, communism, nationalism, capitalism, socialism, and Marxism, and what they mean and how they've impacted the global history. Imperialism. Imperialism is a political and economic system in which a powerful country extends its influence over other nations or territories through colonization, military conquest, or economic domination. In the 19th and 20th centuries, European powers like Great Britain, France, and Germany established colonies in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. They exploited these colonies for their natural resources and labor, often causing great harm to the local people and cultures. Imperialism was a major driver of global conflict as rival powers competed for territory and resources, which we saw in the Great War in the start of the 20th century. Militarism. Militarism is a political and cultural system in which a country prioritizes military power and aggressive foreign policy. In the early 20th century, militarism contributed to the outbreak of World War I as European powers built up their armies and competed for military dominance. Militarism also played a major role in the rise of fascism in Italy, Germany, and Japan, where military strength and conquest were seen as essential to national greatness. Fascism. Fascism is a political ideology that emerged in the early 20th century, characterized by extreme nationalism, authoritarianism, and a belief in the superiority of one's own race or culture. Fascist governments often suppress dissent and opposition and use violence and propaganda to maintain power. The most famous fascist regime was that of Nazi Germany under Adolf Hitler, which led to the horrors of the Holocaust and World War II. Communism. Communism is a political and economic system in which property and resources are collectively owned by the people, rather than by individuals or corporations. Communist governments aim to create a classless society in which everyone has equal access to resources and opportunities. There is nothing like ownership of the business, and all of the workers share the profits equally, regardless of the work or duties they perform. The issue arises when those who work really hard get the same amount as those who don't work as hard. The most famous communist government was that of the Soviet Union, which lasted from 1917 to 1991. While communism has been criticized for its lack of individual freedom and economic inefficiency, it also has been praised for its focus on social justice and equality. Nationalism. Nationalism is a political ideology that emphasizes the importance of one's own nation or ethnic group. Nationalist movements often seek to promote national unity, pride, and sovereignty, sometimes at the expense of other groups or nations. Nationalism played a major role in the lead up to World War I as rival powers competed for dominance and territory. Today, nationalism is often associated with right-wing populism and anti-immigrant sentiment, where people are proud of their own nation and look down on the others. It is similar to fascism, but in this, race is replaced by nation. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system based on the private ownership of the means of production and the creation of goods and services for profit. In a capitalist system, individuals or companies are free to produce and trade goods and services, and the prices of these goods and services are determined by supply and demand in the market. Capitalism is often associated with the idea of the free market, where competition between producers results in better quality products and lower prices for consumers. In the modern era, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Japan are some of the countries that follow this ideology. Socialism. Socialism, on the other hand, is an economic system based on the collective ownership of the means of production. In a socialist system, the government or the community as a whole owns and manages the resources necessary for the production of goods and services. The primary goal of socialism is to achieve economic equality and social justice by ensuring that everyone has access to the resources they need to live a decent life. In a socialist system, prices may be determined by the government rather than the market. These days, Cuba, Venezuela, and North Korea are major countries that follow this ideology. Marxism. Marxism is a political and economic theory developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in the mid-19th century. Marxism is based on the idea that the history of human society is a history of class struggle. According to Marx, in any society there are two classes: the ruling class, which owns and controls the means of production, and the working class, which provides the labor necessary for production. Marx believed that the working class would eventually overthrow the ruling class and establish a socialist society, in which the means of production would be owned collectively. Marxism also emphasizes the role of the state in promoting the interest of the ruling class. Marx believed that the state was a tool used by the ruling class to maintain their power and suppress the working class. According to Marx, the only way to achieve true freedom and equality was to abolish the state and establish a classless society in which the means of production were owned and managed collectively by the workers. In the past, Soviet Union and Maoist China followed this ideology. But today, Cuba and Venezuela, though being socialist, also have the elements of Marxism in their ideology.